Hello, all you freedom-loving people. President Trump lifted the tariffs on automobiles for a month and all Mexican goods until April 2nd, but he didn't go so easy on Trudeau. He also warned Hamas again to release the hostages. Okay, let's get into it. President Trump issued a direct ultimatum to Hamas via his official social media accounts on Wednesday, demanding that they release all hostages immediately. He wrote, "Shalom, Hamas," means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it's over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted. President Trump said that the U.S. is sending Israel all the supplies necessary to accomplish the mission. If Hamas doesn't do what he requests, then not a single Hamas member will be safe. White House officials said that President Trump met at the White House on Wednesday with a group of hostages who were recently released under the Gaza ceasefire agreement. He wrote, "This is your last warning. For the leadership, now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance." President Trump also called out the people of Gaza by saying to the people of Gaza, "A beautiful future awaits, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead." President Trump ended with a warning. "Make a smart decision, release the hostages now, or there will be hell to pay later." The comments came just hours after the U.S. confirmed reports that it was negotiating directly with Hamas about hostages and the Gaza ceasefire. The United States has a tradition of not negotiating with groups it considers terrorist organizations, but this hostage negotiation breaks with that tradition. The answer to the question of breaking from this tradition from White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt was dialogue and talking to people around the world to do what is in the best interest of the American people is something that the president has proven is what he believes is a good faith effort to do what's right for the American people. Karoline Leavitt also announced that U.S. auto tariffs on Canada and Mexico will be delayed by a month. The White House said that the exemption was granted at the request of the leaders of the three major auto companies. Two auto industry sources said that car makers have said they will increase investment in the U.S., but they want the administration to finalize tariff policies and vehicle emission rules before making major changes. After speaking with Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, President Trump said that he agreed to a reprieve to ensure America's big three automakers aren't harmed financially. Leavitt said at the request of the companies associated with USMCA, the president is giving them an exemption for 1 month so they're not at an economic disadvantage. USMCA refers to the free trade agreement that was signed during the first Trump administration among the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. Many car manufacturers produce cars in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And in the process of assembling parts and complete cars, they need to be shipped across the North American border frequently. Therefore, the additional tariffs bring uncertainty to the development of the automobile industry. The month-long reprieve gave auto stocks breathing room. General Motors shares rose 7.2%, Ford rose 5.8%, and Stellantis also rose 4.5%. All three companies produce vehicles that comply with the USMCA, which requires that 75% of the vehicle's parts be North American in order to enter the U.S. market duty-free. The exemption will also benefit some foreign brand automakers with large U.S. manufacturing bases, including Honda and Toyota, but some competitors that don't comply will have to pay the full 25% tariff. And today, President Trump announced that he would pause his 25% tariff on Mexican goods and services that are covered under the USMCA until April 2nd. After speaking with Mexican President Sheinbaum, President Trump wrote on Truth Social, "I did this as an accommodation and out of respect for President Sheinbaum." President Trump also expressed his gratitude for the effort by President Sheinbaum to curb illegal immigrants and fentanyl through the U.S.-Mexico border. But regarding the tariffs on Canada, President Trump did not announce any exemption from the 25% tariffs. President Trump said that he had held a series of phone calls with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, but it seems they did not result in a breakthrough on tariffs. Instead, President Trump still blames Prime Minister Trudeau for the problem. President Trump repeated his accusations from the previous day that Trudeau is using the tariff problem to stay in power. President Trump wrote, "Believe it or not, despite the terrible job he's done for Canada, I think that Justin Trudeau is using the tariff problem, which he has largely caused, in order to run again for Prime Minister." So much fun to watch. On Wednesday, the Justice Department, the DOJ, announced that it's launching a civil rights investigation into anti-Semitism allegations at the University of California following the Hamas attacks on October 7th, 2023 in Israel. Pro-Palestinian protests broke out on college campuses across the country, including the University of California, Los Angeles, and Columbia University. Now the DOJ will probe whether the University of California engaged in a pattern or practice of discrimination based on race, religion, and national origin against Jewish American professors, staff, and other employees during the pro-Palestinian protests. Attorney General Pam Bondi added that the DOJ will always defend Jewish Americans, protect civil rights, and leverage our resources to eradicate institutional anti-Semitism in our nation's universities. In response, the University of California said, "We want to be clear. The University of California is unwavering in its commitment to combating anti-Semitism and protecting everyone's civil rights. We continue to take specific steps to foster an environment free of harassment and discrimination for everyone in the university community." Earlier this week, the Trump administration announced that it was reviewing contracts and grants that are related to Columbia University due to anti-Semitism allegations against the school. President Trump also announced that he would end funding for universities that allowed illegal protests in response to the Gaza war. Ahead of President Trump's address to the joint session of Congress on Tuesday, 22 Democrat senators released an identical video on social media, similar to how multiple newscasters will read the same script on the different local news stations across the country. Each video opens with a clip of President Trump promising to bring prices down starting on day one, followed by the senators responding with the same scripted message. Some Republicans were quick to criticize the video campaign. They posted the videos on their X or Instagram accounts, and this eventually caught the attention of Elon Musk. So in response, Elon Musk wrote, "Now we're up to 22 Dem senators all doing the same cringe video simultaneously. I will buy a cyber truck for anyone who can provide proof of who wrote this particular piece of propaganda. First person to post proof in the replies to this post gets the truck." Musk also asked, "Can't someone be bothered to write these speeches? This is just lazy." Senator Cory Booker, the chair of the Senate Democratic leadership team, replied to Musk 2 hours later by saying, "Clearly you are triggered by the truth. It was me. Keep the truck." Then, on Wednesday, Musk met with the Senate Republicans to discuss the work of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. During the Senate meeting, Musk apparently learned that the formal process of budget rescissions could enable the codification by Congress of approved DOGE-identified cuts. Later on the same day, Musk met with the House Republicans. After the meeting, reporters asked Musk if there should be a congressional vote on the rescission package for DOGE. Musk replied, "Yeah, sure." But Musk said that talk of rescissions wasn't a big part of the conversation. He said that lawmakers sought to know where they could pinpoint spending that was identified by DOGE so that they can move those things into law through the proper documentation. Speaker Johnson also talked to the reporters after the meeting.
That actually turns out to be a good thing in this case because it will freeze federal funding to allow the executive branch, the administration, to continue to do their work. This extraordinary work that Elon Musk is doing with DOGE that he's explaining to our House Republicans tonight is transformative. It's really revolutionary in the way that we'll do budgeting. We'll limit the size and scope of the federal government, and we'll be much more accountable to taxpayers in this country, and that is long overdue. So I'm so grateful that he's doing that and sharing the updates and latest insights with the members, and I think there'll be a lot of good work that comes out of this. If there are savings and things that relate to FY25, and we have already passed the CR, then yes, of course, you'll have rescissions that would come from the administration, from the executive branch, and then Congress would act upon that, because we want to save taxpayer dollars, and we want to spend them wisely and as good stewards. And what DOGE is able to find are the things that Congress was unable to uncover for a long time, because these administrative agencies, contractors, and all the other recipients of federal dollars were hiding the data in so many cases. When we try to do oversight, they wouldn't give us the information that he's finding. They would not answer subpoenas under many situations and cases. And so this is why this work is so important and so transformative. And I'm applauding it. Elon and I are talking regularly, almost daily now, about this, so we can coordinate the efforts. And I think the end result is going to be great for every single American.
And today, Speaker Johnson announced that the House has censured Representative Al Green with the resolution that was introduced by Representative Dan Newhouse.
This is a really sad day for our institution. What Representative Al Green did in the midst of the president's speech as our honored guest to the chamber was disrupted. He did it intentionally, as everyone saw. I gave him plenty of warnings, and he refused it. It was a deliberate action. It needed to be met with swift punishment. That's the tradition of this place, to maintain decorum. And so that's what we just did. The resolution passed on the House floor. There were 224 votes in favor of censuring him for that behavior. 198 Democrats voted against it. I can't believe that. 2 votes present. So I think we had 9 Democrats join us in this bipartisan measure that we took. And it was critically important, Bill, because we have to maintain the dignity of this place. We're the greatest deliberative body in the history of the world. There's a deep and rich tradition here, and it is violated. To our understanding and our review of history, that was the first time that any member of Congress has ever had to be removed in the middle of a presidential address, and it's shameful.
Recently, in addition to half of China being in weather disaster mode, the country has been besieged by a variety of viruses. There are currently 8 outbreaks circulating in China at the same time, which is a very rare occurrence. As the mix of viruses ravages China, many children and young adults have died from the infections. In mid-February, the CDC issued a bulletin advising the public to take precautions against infectious diseases such as acute respiratory infections, influenza, human infection of avian influenza, and monkeypox. The first infectious disease mentioned in the announcement is acute respiratory infectious disease, which includes 5 types of outbreaks. Infectious diseases caused by influenza viruses, human pulmonary viruses, adenoviruses, respiratory syncytial viruses, and mycoplasma pneumonia. In this announcement, human infection of avian flu is highlighted for the first time. At the same time, it is admitted in a very low-profile manner that some cases of human infections of avian influenza have been found in China recently. In this announcement, monkeypox is also emphasized as a key topic for public education. It has always been the policy of the CCP to cover up all bad news. Disasters such as the epidemic are considered negative news in the eyes of the Beijing government and therefore will not be recognized until it's too difficult to hide. The CCP has previously avoided mentioning human bird flu that is actually caused by the highly pathogenic H5N1 virus. While the United States reported 66 cases at the end of last year, the Chinese government reported only 1 case in China. But the fact is, the H5N1 outbreak has been going on in China for a long time. An insider who was interviewed by the Epoch Times said that he had personally come into contact with no less than 100 cases of H5N1. He said that the official figures published by the government should not be taken into account at all. There are a number of respiratory diseases in circulation, collectively known as X. The Chinese Communist government is well aware of this situation. The Chinese Communist government is so aware of the situation that it has set up a number of large quarantine facilities near highways at provincial borders. A person concerned about the situation in China told the Epoch Times that the news of people being infected with H5N1 is being gagged. Officials usually do not tell the people the real situation. Doctors in hospitals also do not always know if the patient is infected with H5N1. This is because there are no testing strips available at the moment, so it's not possible to do large-scale testing. Even with this inability to do large-scale testing, the Epoch Times reported that the staff at the Shaanxi CDC disclosed that more than 2,000 people in Shaanxi had been infected with H5N1 and more than 300 people had already died. Recently, a citizen disclosed that 14 children died in one small community in Shaanxi, and the entire community has been placed under military control. And an unusual phenomenon in this outbreak is that more young people and children are dying, while the elderly are relatively safe. Someone revealed the latest age data from crematoriums in China for 2024. 80% of those cremated are under 60 years old, with the average age of 55. At the same time, he said, a report by the Chinese Bureau of Statistics shows that the average cremation age in 2023 was 67. It was 63 for men and 75 for women. So the average age in 2023 was 67, and in 2024 it was 55. It is clearly not normal for the situation to change so drastically within 1 year. This figure has also been confirmed by media reports, according to an article on Sohu.com on February 16th. Supplementary data from the 7th population census sent shockwaves across the internet. By the end of 2024, China's mortality rate for the 40 to 50 age group exceeded 5.2%, meaning that 1 in every 20 people in the age group died. And inexplicably, the group that is 10 years older had a lower mortality rate. However, the article was soon deleted by official request. The officials also made a special statement that the content of the article was a rumor. And the CCP has officially emphasized that the influenza virus, influenza A, accounts for 99% of the current epidemic. But there are widespread suspicions that the CCP is again covering up the truth of the epidemic. In fact, it may not be influenza A, but rather an outbreak of long COVID or a vaccine disaster. Zhao Lenjian, a former Chinese media personality, said on social media, the vaccine disaster has happened. The Chinese government is covering it up, and the number of people dying is increasing every day. Zhao Lenjian said that Chinese people must ask themselves, why are crematoriums packed? Why are more and more people around us suffering from heart attacks, brain strokes, and leukemia? And the number of tumor patients is also surging, as shown by messages on social media platforms. Recent videos posted on China's TikTok show that tumor hospitals in many places are crowded with people, including many major hospitals in Beijing and Shanghai. A Beijing netizen said that there are 2 places in Beijing where there are crowds of people, namely the streets during the morning and evening rush hour and the hospitals. Here is a video taken at the Jilin Tumor Hospital in northeastern China, where a long line of patients makes several turns in the hospital's lobby. And here's a video from another hospital.
铁的404号，刘杰到2号窗口。
All in all, the present situation is that the government is silent and the public is guessing. Professional doctors believe that most patients are suffering from more than one type of disease. David Xu, the former head of the acupuncture department at a hospital in China, pointed out that some people say that it's COVID-19, others say it's norovirus or avian flu or influenza A. It's not a single disease anymore, it's a mixture of diseases. We can't prevent it, we can't diagnose it. And many places continue to be overcrowded. Zhao Lenjian said that at a recent Christian gathering in northeastern China, a funeral worker disclosed that the number of deaths has far exceeded the number of deaths during the epidemic. And crematoriums are so full that they have to wait in line to be cremated. And a resident of Fujian province said that since mid-January, many of his acquaintances, relatives, friends, neighbors, and clients have died. He knows dozens of them. Some people died in their 40s. The symptoms were usually white lung or heart problems. And more cremators have been added to the crematoriums. In many places, because the crematoriums can't handle so many deaths, burials have been allowed. Burials were banned in China for more than 50 years. At the same time, the supply of coffins in the market is not enough to meet the demand. Coffin makers and sellers are busy. Residents of a large city near Beijing say that coffins that used to cost 4,000 yuan have now risen in price to 12,000 yuan, which is 3 times the previous price. And coffin factories in the southern province of Zhejiang require their workers to work overtime, and at the same time they have increased the number of employees. In the last 2 years, 7 or 8 new coffin factories have been established there. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore, so when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.